This last week of October, we have another Wellness Watch, and this time we're watching out for our GI health, especially when it comes to women. So joining me right now is Dr. Lee Allen from the Digestive Health Institute. How are you?
I am well. How about yourself, Rachelle?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Very
it's so great
good.
to have you back here again.
Good to be back.
Yes, you guys have so much information that is always so helpful for us. But specifically today, what I want to talk about is why GI health is especially important, but for women.
It's extremely important for women because we have different hormonal cycles that happen every month, things that happen during pregnancy. So we can get into that today.
That's great. Well, I'm so glad that we are focusing that conversation. Like you said, so many times we even leave ourselves out of the conversation until it's too late. So tell us, what are some of those things that women specifically experience when it comes to our GI health?
Absolutely. So there are times when we are on our menstrual cycle where both estrogen and progesterone do affect our GI tract. And for us, particularly the condition called irritable bowel syndrome, which we've talked about before, it can more affect women than men. So in the times of our period, when we are having estrogen spikes and progesterone spikes, we can end up seeing an exacerbation of some of those same symptoms that maybe we haven't seen on our period. Sometimes that can be a slowing of our GI tract, so we can end up having more acid reflux as well. Sometimes we can end up having more constipation side effects, or again, if we have a baseline of like irritable bowel syndrome, that's predominant feature of diarrhea, we can get more diarrhea during our menstrual cycles or during pregnancy. Even during pregnancy, we can see that when we have a spike in estrogen, there are conditions called Hyperemesis Gravid, where basically it's just the idea that there's a lot of persistent nausea, vomiting, even more than regular symptoms. And for some women, it can be very, very severe, even to the point that they need to be hospitalized.
All right, Dr. Lee Allen, I want to stop you right there. You just said a very long-term hyperemesis gravidum. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly that means?
Yes. Hyperemesis gravidum is when you have even worsened nausea, vomiting than just morning sickness. This is nausea, vomiting that persists all throughout the day. You cannot keep food or drink down, and it is consistent and persistent.
What are some other alarm signs that we need to kind of keep track of and think twice of in case this happens to us?
Absolutely. So when I think about alarm signs, we are really talking about what should make us concerned for more serious conditions. And one of the things that I think gets forgotten about is the fact that colorectal cancer is still a very predominant and pervasive cancer that is mainly largely preventable. So in women, colorectal cancer is still the third leading cancer, and it can be prevented. So when you are, one, not having any symptoms at all, just make sure you remember that 45 is the new 50 and that you need to come in and get your colonoscopy. Number two, if you are having alarm signs, whether you are 45 or younger, things like having black tarry stools, things like having bright red blood in your stool more than 2 or 3 tablespoons full, things like having severe abdominal pain that is persistent and will not go away, things like losing weight and you do not know why. And lastly, things like persistent diarrhea or constipation lasting more than 2 weeks. If you have a first-degree relative who has had colorectal cancer, mom, dad, sisters, brothers, or even your own children, those are things that you need to get your colonoscopy, and not any other testing, but absolutely a colonoscopy.
But now that you just outlined some of those symptoms, which I'm sure some of our viewers at home can relate to, what do we do next?
I see. So again, we kind of talked about some extremes. If you are to the point that you are completely dehydrated at home or not having able to intake food or water, come on into the GI office. A lot of times, if we can get you under control during times when you're not having your menstrual cycle, oftentimes we can lessen the effects that you see even during your menstrual cycle when your estrogen and progesterone are kind of fluctuating in extremes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee Allen, for giving us all these different warning signs and symptoms that we need to look out for. And we'll have more information online as to how you guys at home can set up an appointment with the Digestive Health Institute. Thank you so much for just making sure that women are a part of this conversation as well.
Absolutely.